Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of r/Entitled People. In today's episode, upstairs neighbor tells me to turn up my heat. My new manager expects me to work when I don't have a way to get to the store. Entitled grandmother at the cinema. Before we get started, make sure to subscribe so you will never miss a video. So let's get started. Upstairs neighbor tells me to turn up my heat. I moved into my current apartment on Halloween last year. It's the first time I've had electric heating and I am thrilled to have a thermostat in each room. I turn them off in rooms I'm not in, and if I'm going to be in them for a while I'll turn the heat on and it doesn't take long to warm up. My upstairs neighbor apparently is angry at this because their electric bill over this winter has gone way up because the previous occupant of my apartment had the heat so high she only had to occasionally turn on her heat. About a week before Christmas she came down a little before noon to knock on my door in a huff. I'll paraphrase the conversation. My bedroom is freezing, I need you to turn up your heat. If your heat isn't working you should call maintenance. They work pretty quick. I never had to use my heat this much before you moved in, your heat is too low. Turn it up. No. And I shut the door to her angry rebuttal. She pounded on my door and I just yelled for her to go away. She gives me angry looks whenever I see her since then, but she works nights so it isn't that often. Unbelievable. Honestly, some people's behavior just baffles me. Good on you for the short and clear reply. And for resisting the urge to add a colorful word or two. Most of the stuff on this sub just makes me react similarly. Never have I encountered someone this entitled/narcissistic. I always wonder whether I'll be able to hold my ground, lol. Reminds me of the people who become accustomed to using someone else's Wi-Fi and throw a fit when the password is changed. Wow, talk about cheaping out. She was mooching off of some poor soul who was heating her place. I have been told that heat escapes through the ceiling mostly, so put as much insulation in your ceiling/attics you can afford. So, this post seems to indicate this is true. In any case, you are never required to heat your neighbor's apartment. I wear warm clothes, so can tolerate somewhat lower temps. That lady needs some warmer clothes. Or just turn on her heat. Seriously, it takes about 5 minutes to heat up my bedroom when I go to bed. Even when it's below 0 degrees Fahrenheit outside. She's just an entitled cheapskate that is pissed off a cheapskate moved in below her. Yes, heat rises. If you are moving to an apartment building, try getting your apartment in the middle somewhere. Won't cost you as much to hear your place. NGL, I had a downstairs neighbor for years in my old apartment who was a geriatric lady who kept her heat on Sahara for most of the year. In the summer it was unbearable. In the winter, though, I never had to touch my own thermostat. When she moved out to relocate to a senior living thing, I might have shed a private, selfish tear or two over the electricity bill. I will say the first time I turned on the heat after so long the reek of toasting dust was disgusting. Being from Florida, I always found the smell of burning dust to be the signal that winter had officially arrived. Maybe it's just me. She gots to be mental. In what universe does she thinks it is okay to demand a whole other apartment, a floor below her, to turn up the heat so she won't have to pay her bill? I mean, I'm not gonna lie, it's a bonus to be on the top floor and get the neighbor's heat, but I'm not about to go pound on their door to tell them to turn it on. Yep, I am top floor and usually benefit from the adjacent and below apartments helping to heat my home, but I never expect it. We have Hive now and only heat the rooms to temperature that we use. Once it meets it, it turns off, it helps with the bills. I honestly do not know what she expected. Oh, of course, madam, let me burn a hole in my pocket for your comfort, complete stranger. Shall I shove a broom up my bottom and pop round to sweep your floors too? A textbook example of no is a complete sentence. Well done. I lived in a first-floor apartment above a thrift store. I was always impressed at the insulation of my apartment as I rarely needed the heating on. When COVID hit and I got it, I jacked up the heat because I was freezing and figured it was a symptom. Got over that but was still freezing and was very confused. I was sorting out clothes to take to the thrift shop and suddenly realized it was closed because of lockdown. Then I put two and two together. I live on the fourth floor and not having to pay for heating is great, but I do not feel entitled to it. Some mornings I am up before my neighbors and need to turn on my heat. That is not my neighbor's problem. I cannot imagine telling someone to turn their heat up for me. You pay more for air conditioning, though, if you have it. And everyone below you benefits. So it all evens out. Meanwhile, I have the opposite problem. I have new downstairs neighbors and they run their heat so high I had to run my AC in the middle of winter. Not complaining though. My new manager expects me to work when I don't have a way to get to the store. I got jury duty, and I was expected to after the whole thing to do today for finishing selections to work my shift even if I have no way to get there other than public transit. I told my manager, but her response was, "What, you don't have a car? How'd you get to the courthouse?" I explained I live in different county. She thinks I live in hers, which is on a bus route that only takes 20 minutes to her store. And it would take 2 to 3 hours in mine, but she isn't listening to me at all. I explained to her that I don't have a car, my husband's car was stolen last month. I am basically relying on others and my manager is not listening. I told her I might not make it to my shift today and she called frantic because she thought there was no way I could be selected as an alternate. She again lives in a different county and I live in a slightly bigger one. She acted like I didn't tell her I didn't have a car. She also acted as if it was now my fault for getting selected. I am halfway trying to find a different job because she made having a life outside work virtually impossible for me. How is it my fault that she is like this? I mean, I work shifts like 2 p.m. to 10 p.m. She expects me to magically appear after the whole jury duty to work a shift even though she knows that I won't arrive on time or will get there about 8 p.m. with the way buses are in my area. I have explained this a dozen times and feel like I am being ignored. I am literally hoping I am selected just to punish the woman. She acts like I am the only one working when she has a staff of 5 or more. This isn't the first time. Ever since I transferred to the store, she has given me hours that make having a social life impossible. I practically have to beg to have time off for things I do with friends. I put in for certain events, my manager acts like I just kicked her dog over it. These are not major for anyone else. She knew I volunteered for literary auctions and other fandom things. She has other co-workers, she can rely on these people. I explained to them already that I have jury duty and they said they would help, but my manager still expects me to magically appear for a shift I can't work. It's like explaining to a dead horse. If you're thinking of getting a different job, then I suggest filing a formal complaint about your manager. What she's doing is unreasonable and punishing you for having jury duty is illegal. I don't think she realizes that. I am really annoyed because she quickly forgot that whole car thing. Punishing you for having jury duty is illegal. This exactly. Depending on the state, it can have some rather severe consequences. Also, depending on the state, even if your scheduled hours were outside of the times for your duties as a juror, you still would be legally excused from those shifts because you are expected to be rested and clear-headed to be the best juror you can be to see justice served. Bro, take this above her. HR, punishing you for jury duty is literally illegal. Being this unreasonable would also likely go against company policies, assuming you're with a good company. And when I say above her, I mean take it above and push it, swing with all you got. If you're in a union, I'd also highly recommend talking to them. Is this a corporate store, franchise, or mom and pop place? If it's corporate or franchise, they'll have HR and you need to file a formal complaint. If it's a mom and pop shop, then just quit and find a new job. It really seems like the manager is looking to make you quit or looking for a reason to fire you. Corporate, and I already talked to her manager. Probably a corporate store, since she said she transferred to that store. Tell the judge your boss is trying to make you come to work during jury duty. It will not end well for your boss. Judges don't play that game. Transportation is up to you. Don't use it as an excuse. Don't even talk about it. Tell her what hours you are available. It's not a debate. If you want to go out with friends on weekends, just say you're not available on weekends. If they don't need workers during the shifts that you are available, get a different job. There are help wanted signs everywhere. They need you, you don't need them. I find this bizarre as OP seems to be the entitled one. All that nonsense about the car, look, part of the deal of having a job is you have to find your way there. Sounds like a communication issue, which is mostly on you. I can work this time, not that time. You managers works with you or not. But lots of malarkey in this post to make you a victim and manager the villain. Not sure either of you are. Communicate. If it was that big of a deal, should have offered a taxi. Or a drive. I've had a manager troll my walk to work to find me and get me to work faster. It sounds like you have a horrendous commute to this job. Try to find a different one that's closer to home. If leaving from the courthouse and going to work will take hours, it's not worth it. Tell boss you'll go in if she picks you up and gives you a ride. Entitled grandmother at the cinema. Yesterday, I took my daughter and her friend to the cinema. Unfortunately, the cinema was understaffed, resulting in interminable lines. Despite the inconvenience, we patiently waited for around 10 minutes to purchase snacks, relieved that we had pre-purchased our tickets. However, our patience was tested when an entitled lady brazenly cut in front of us. She claimed to have been waiting in the other line, but decided to switch because it was taking too long. The people ahead of me expressed their displeasure, but she ignored their protests. In the end, she got served and left, giving us all an icy glare. Karma had its way as she discovered that the movie had sold out, even before I joined the line. It was a satisfying end. So she paid movie prices for movie snacks but didn't get to see the movie? Wonderful. Don't you love it when you get a front row seat to karma? This is where the lack of brain filter I inherited from my mother would come out. I would have loudly said, "Oh, let her go first. As old as she is, she may not live long enough to see the end of the movie." I would have pushed past her and gotten back in front. After how long I was waiting in line for, I'm not letting some line-cutting old hag think she can just step in front of me and take my turn like she has some right to do so. If she whines about it, I'll tell her I will tell the cinema staff on her, probably with everybody else who she cut in agreeing with me, and tell her to go back to the end of the line where she belongs. Even if she was in the line before, she got out to go do something else. I'm not obligated to allow her to get back in line once the line is shorter. I'm not giving up my place as next in line for her. If she was a man, I think the guy in front of me would have done exactly that. He was furious, his movie had already started and he was getting snacks for his kids who were already in the theater. With how young the staff were, I doubt they would have done anything. Karma had other ideas in mind for Karen. My response to assholes like these are always, why can't you wait in your line for a couple minutes when a kid can wait longer and not complain? That's brilliant that she spent a small fortune on snacks to eat on the way home in the car. There's a movie theater in a nearby small town that only sells the tickets from the snack bar, so yeah, it could happen that you'd be in the snack bar line and tickets would sell out and you wouldn't find out until you got to the front of the line. But then you wouldn't have bought the snacks if it's all in the same line. If you made it to the end of the video, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe and share, and we will see you in the next video.